So welcome to our ScreenPal Quizzing webinar. We are so excited for you to be here with us today. And just so that in case you're completely new to ScreenPal, or maybe, which has happened to us a lot in the last 12 months, I guess now, or 9 months, if you use Screencast-O-Matic, we are now ScreenPal. Amazing rebrand. We love all of our new interface. We have gotten amazingly positive feedback about it, which is super exciting. And we provide intuitive effectware, software tools, and services for collaborative video creation. One of my favorite things as somebody who joined the ScreenPal team, not as a pro video editor, is that I can make all of the videos that I create look like they came from a pro because it's so easy for everyone to use our editing software, our screen recorder, our video editor, and the hosting service. So another one of my favorite little known things is the hosting service, which we will be working in today because all of our quizzes are hosted through screenpal.com. It's a great solution for you if maybe you want a channel of videos, you don't want your learners to be navigating to all kinds of different places on the internet. Also a great solution if you are at an institution where they are limiting YouTube access, which happens in a lot of our K-12 schools, because your students would be watching the videos through screenpal.com and not through YouTube. So just an FYI. And we love our little phrase, which is capture, create, and share. So what we're focusing on today is more how you're sharing those videos and sharing them in the form of a quiz. So who we are, my name is Sarah Eiler. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator, and I am joined by my colleagues, Kelly, Rebecca, and Ben. So Kelly, will you tell us what you do with the product team?
Sure. I'm Kelly Jura. I work on the product team at ScreenPal. I am one of the people who looks through the different reviews and product requests and all of the great feedback that comes through the community. And one of the features that we received a lot of requests for was quizzing, including polling and feedback through ratings. And to say that I am excited about this webinar is an understatement. I'm really excited about this feature. I hope that everyone here loves it as much as we do. If you do have feedback, send it our way. We actively do look at the feedback that comes through the community so we can better the product. And today we're also joined by Rebecca, who's the Director of Growth and Marketing, and Ben, who leads up our customer success and support teams. Rebecca and Ben will be joining us in the chat and in the Q&A. If you do have any questions at all, please put them in the Q&A and we'll make sure that we get them answered.
Yep, thank you. Perfect. So there's our intros, and now let's hop right in to creating a quiz. Now you might have stumbled into this one thinking I want to know more about quizzing, and maybe when you see that I'm uploading a recording or adding a recording to ScreenPal, you might be thinking, wait, how do I make the recording? So if that applies to you, you can check out one of our on-demand Getting Started webinars where we go through from start to finish that creation process of capturing your screen and creating or editing your screen as well. And we also have a level 1 certification that you can take asynchronously as needed and go through each of those micro-credentials to learn how to capture and edit your screen. So just an FYI, we're going to hop right into our creation piece here today.
Yeah, first we're going to look at creating a quiz. Interactive learning actively engages learners to promote retention and understanding. This results in better outcomes and is overall just a better experience, more enjoyable learning experience for your audience. With our interactive video features, educators and trainers can create engaging content that promotes active learning and improves the overall learning experience for their students or their trainees.
And we kind of brainstormed to think of ways that you should use interactive videos. And some of our ideas are you can make employee development engaging. So making sure that you have kind of that prevent skipping turned on and you're engaging everyone that's taking your quizzes. It also creates an automatic sense of accountability. For me personally, I'm like, okay, I need to keep watching and answer the next question. I even, have to like participate when I see those ads on my Hulu app or whatever that I have to click on. I want to participate in those. You can assess comprehension and understand areas for improvement. So whether that is areas for you to improve as an instructor or areas for your students to improve, you can embed poll and rating questions to assist with that. And it's convenient, accessible, and flexible. So whether you're doing asynchronous learning, synchronous learning, in classroom, remote, online, all of those things, you can utilize this quizzing feature. And you can adapt to different learning styles. So as you can even see in this image, we've got the feedback. You can adapt to a visual learner because it includes the video. You can choose whether or not you provide the score immediately because some students might have anxiety from that and some students might really enjoy that. And you can also show them the rewatch button so that they can rewatch as needed as they complete their video lesson. So I'm going to share with you guys the slides at the end of this presentation. So the slides actually have step-by-step images on them as well. But for now, we're going to go straight to screenpal.com so I can show you exactly how you would create a quiz, and we will do this live together. So just a reminder, you do have to upload your video, whether it's from the mobile version, from the desktop app, you do have to upload it to ScreenPal to create a quiz. So when you go to share out that completed screen recording video, we can even host images. I saw that in the chat window on screenpal.com. So whatever you want to host that is your multimedia, you can throw on here and create your quiz. So there's 3 places once I have uploaded that I can create my quiz from. I can click on the more options 3 dots in the corner. So I'm just on my home page under my content and my videos. I can click create quiz from here. I can also click on the details for the video. And I can click on this little pointer symbol and click create quiz here as well. That's also where you would go to add call to action and annotation buttons. Okay, so the same place you would go to do that if you're utilizing that feature is where you go to create your quiz. That's all of our interactivity that we can put in the video. And probably the way that most people would create their quiz is by clicking on quizzes here. And then I can click, let me move our zooms there, new quiz, and then I can select the video for the quiz. So create a quiz. So there's my create a quiz example. It's going to populate that title. Of course, I could change it if I needed to. And then I will click create quiz. Oh, it already exists. It's yelling at me because I practiced earlier. Just going to add a number to the end there. All right, so there's my create a quiz. I'm already in my quiz editing screen, just as easy as that. And now I can start playing my video, which it's already started on mute, and I can add in my quiz questions. Okay, so super easy to get started on creating your quiz. And now we'll hop into our editing features.
Yes, so our quizzing platform has all of those kind of expected quiz questions, like true, false, and short answer, multiple choice, some of the things that you would just expect as part of a quizzing app. But we also do incorporate some really cool features like polls and ratings. This enables learners to provide and receive immediate feedback. And by offering a variety of interactive options, we empower educators and trainers to create dynamic quizzes that go beyond the kind of traditional formats that you would find, resulting in even more interactive and effective learning experiences.
Yeah, and I love the idea too of when I do these quizzes, I try to switch it up, right? So it's not all just multiple choice or all true false. So kind of changing it up and almost keeping my viewers on their toes, if you will, as to what question is going to pop up next in my quiz. So that really dynamic and interactive speaks to my soul, Kelly, when we're talking about our quiz editing. So let's look at our quiz really quick. So right here, it automatically started playing, if you notice, but it plays on mute, which I love because I am that person in these webinars who forgets to mute my video as I'm editing my video. And this one, of course, I've generated my closed captions for, so I can see my captions at the bottom of my screen, and I could even kind of edit with it on mute and just read my captions as I'm editing if I wanted to. But if I wanted to turn on the volume, I would just click on the little sound here and my volume will automatically turn on. So I can obviously fast forward in my video by dragging the white circle here. One of my favorite things to do when I'm making my quiz, obviously you've got the add a question button right here. So if you forget to do this, you can still click add a question, but I love that I can pause my video. And while I'm right here at the pause point, I can click on this blue plus sign and it'll bring up my quiz question type option. So it's going to automatically embed that quiz in the place where I clicked on the blue plus sign. So here I can do my multiple choice, true, false, short answer, polar rating. So let's start with the multiple choice here. And it's already generated that specific time for me. So at 1:28, which is where I paused my video, I clicked on that plus sign at that point. You'll notice for all of our questions, you can also select for it to be at the beginning or at the end. So let's type in our question here. What are 3 characteristics of a modern classroom? Okay, and so that's the 3 things that are listed right here. This is part of our blended instruction certification. And we'll do self-paced structure. So really, hopefully easy for my learners, although I taught 14-year-olds, so it probably wouldn't be so easy for some of them because I had the Constitution on the wall and asked them every single day, when was it signed? And the answer was right there, and they never got extra credit from it. So anywho, so here I've got my 3 characteristics listed, and then I like to show this little piece off. You could do a select all that apply situation. And you saw my answers popping up here at the bottom. So maybe I just say none of the above. And I can obviously click the button here for none of the above. But as I type in my answers, another blank space is opening up. You don't have to fill in that last blank space. Sometimes that gets a little confusing for people. It's so that you have that extra space and you're not clicking an extra button, right? It's a lot more user-friendly, just ready for you to fill in. So if you see those extra spaces, don't feel like you need to fill them in. They can stay blank at the end. You do, however, have to select a correct answer. So for this case, I've got the 3 characteristics since I'm selecting all that apply. So I'm actually going to check to allow multiple answer selections, which is one of my favorite little features that I can do there. And then I could also randomize the order of answers, which I won't do because I have none of the above as an answer choice there. But I could also add feedback to the question. So this is another one of my favorite features, is that I could redirect someone who answered incorrectly. Let's maybe say incorrect answer, try rewatching that portion of the video, right? So it automatically tells them what to do if they got the answer wrong. Another great way to go about this would be, let's say this was part of our slide presentation yesterday. So I could say, go back to yesterday's slide presentation, go back to yesterday's notes, go back to the last module, right? So like all of these kinds of ways that I can help correct that misconception for whoever is watching the video. So once I'm done, I'll click save, and there's my question. You can also see it automatically started playing again. So I'm going to pause. And then here I've got the time of the question. And if I need to make any edits to that question, I can click on the more options 3 dots here and go back into editing that question later. Now let's add another question. We'll fast forward a tad bit here. Okay. Here we go. So here I'll click on the plus sign again, but you can also click add question here. And then we'll do true, false this time. And we'll do at a specific time. Once again, it's pre-populated that time for me there because I used that blue plus sign as I'm watching. And let's say ScreenPal was formerly named Screencast-O-Matic. Oops, nothing like typing in front of people, y'all. And that one is true. Okay. And then here I've got, again, the add feedback to question option. So I could tell people where to go to find the right answer. Incorrect, I could be like, Google it. Just kidding, it's on the screen. But I could really easily add the feedback to that question so that I could help correct that misconception. So we'll save that one there. Okay. And we'll fast forward just a tad bit again to add another question in. And we will do short answer here. And once again, add a specific time, beginning or end. And then for my short answer, let's say describe how you will capture your screen, oops, using ScreenPal. And I say describe because, and here comes my high school teacher moment that Ben would agree with me on. I taught history, and when you ask a student to describe, sometimes not a lot of description actually happens. So when you have asked your respondent to describe, you can check this nice little box here that requires a specific answer length. So I can say, I want this to be a real good description and be 50 characters, right? And up to 500. And then another thing that I like, because as you can tell, I'm an over talker, is that you could even change maybe the max number of characters to be 50. So if the challenge for some of your learners would be to make a more succinct description, then you can change that to that larger number to being something smaller, so that it will actually challenge them to get within a certain word count. I'm always like trying to tweet and I can't tweet because, everything is too long. So that's a really cool way for you to kind of increase that learning and also increase the interactivity and have people maybe even spend more time thinking about their answer to the question, right? If you've put a character limit to it. So there's my short answer there ready to go too. And you can see all of these questions that I'm creating have a little blue teardrop in the video timeline there at the bottom of my screen. If you wanted to remove those teardrops, that's an option under the assignment and settings. So I'll show you how you can not show your audience what is coming up as they're watching your video. It's really easy to toggle those off. But if you like them, you can make sure that they are set to come on as well. And then let's go through a poll one really quick. So one of the things that I love about poll and rating is that these can really increase that engagement, and they are like a low fear question type, right? So when I'm asking a poll, maybe I'm gathering information, I'm using it for like a social emotional learning exercise. Maybe I'm just getting some opinions. It could even be something random. Like when we're talking about increasing engagement, it could be something like, out of these 5 movies, what's your favorite? Right. And then maybe your students are logging in to take your quiz because they don't know what question Miss Eiler is going to ask tomorrow. Right. So they want to like answer that random poll question in the middle of your quiz. Just any way that you can kind of get them excited about learning and about taking that quiz would help. Now here, let's say, which are you the most excited to use in ScreenPal, and that is terrible grammar, and I apologize, but I am on the fly here. Capturing my screen, and then we'll say editing my video, and then we could say sharing my video in a channel, and then we'll say creating my first quiz. Yay! Okay. And then one of the things that I even love to do with this to take it a step further of that engaging, getting people excited, visually stimulating, is maybe even adding some emojis there. So if you were like going to use my top 5 movie type situation, then you could maybe pick an emoji that represented the movies. Or if you're doing social emotional learning, how are you feeling today? Question popped at the end of the video, right? For how you're feeling and ready to accomplish this standard. Are you ready to create your video product? Are you ready to do this project? How can I help you be prepared to do the project? You could select here at the end of the video, and then you'll have that poll at the very end about what people are most excited to use in ScreenPal. And then for the options here, you have add other option. So you could require the viewer to provide a short answer if they select other. right? So that way you're like, you can't just get out of this by saying other. I need you to actually describe why you picked other. And then you can say, allow viewer to skip the question. You could randomize the order of answers and you can hide the results. And then similarly for the rating, as somebody who plans a lot of professional development, I love the idea of using a rating at the end of the video. Like if you've done our level 1 tutorial, you've probably noticed in that certification that at the end I've put a rating of, was this tutorial efficient and well organized, right? So I can gather a quick little glimpse of whether or not, was this too long? Was it too short? Did you get everything that you needed? So I can do a quick little rating question there. You can change it anywhere from 2 to 10 stars, hearts, or smileys. So you can change the rating type there. You can allow the viewer to skip, and if you do allow optional comments, you can put a comment field. So you could say something like, please expand on your rating, right? If you allowed the comments, then they could provide additional information for why they gave that rating on the question. And so
Yeah,
then
sorry.
you're fine.
I love this feature. It's really nice if you're doing tutorials or product demos or, marketing videos to really understand if it's resonating with your audience. You can add those hearts, out of these 5 hearts, how much do you love this new feature? How excited are you about this new feature? And the interesting thing here is that if you use a similar question at the ends of all of those videos, you can start to really compare and see what content is resonating with your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kelly, when we were talking about this earlier, you even had the idea of, which we'll talk about in a second, exporting, but you could export like multiple PDFs for each of your quizzes and really see across time either how the rating has changed or what improvements need to be made, anything like that from all of these quizzes. And the rating's like a really simple thing to look at. Like when I go to results summary, it's just going to say like for this question, 3.67 stars or whatever. Like it's just a very easy number for me to look at and make conclusions from.
Yeah, and again, just really encouraging that engagement from your audience. If you're a brand, if you're a marketer, then asking people for their feedback is another way of creating that sense of community around the brand and the content. So now we have our great quiz that Sarah has created. We're going to dive into the assignments and the settings tab. This really gives you full control over how your quiz is presented to the viewers and how you can share the quiz. Easy configuration options will allow you to personalize the quiz settings to match both your preferences and your desired learning outcomes. You can share a link in whatever tool you're using. If you're communicating with your team, you could drop a link in Slack, for instance, or you can share with your students through an LMS system like a Canvas, or you can even embed on a website.
Yeah, and some of the settings that are included in this tab are the prevent skipping. I mentioned hiding the question markers on the timeline. You can hide the call to action and annotation links. You can hide the quiz results, exclude the short answers from the quiz score, or schedule the quiz for a future date. And then you can kind of see here in this image, I like to point out, this is kind of what the quiz looks like in a mobile view. So in a second, we'll talk to you about the ways that you can share your quiz out with the assignments and settings. And so this is what it would look like were you to have your viewers, your audience, taking this quiz on a mobile device. So here really quick, when I'm going into my quiz settings, I would click on assignments and settings here. And then how would you like to assign this quiz? I can share a link or embed on the website. And I've got a few different access settings here. So if I click on embed on website, I can pull the embed code. So if you're using a different website, you can really easily pull that. And then here, when I click on share a link, quiz taker must be logged in and a member of my team. So this is if you are working on a team plan, then that quiz taker, excuse me, would also be a member of your team plan. Quiz taker must be logged in with a ScreenPal account. This just means they've created a ScreenPal account and they're logged in. They don't necessarily have to be a member of your team plan. And then you can ask your audience to enter information prior to taking the quiz. So those of you that are maybe collecting grades in some capacity will probably want to select this option because you can have your students, your learners enter their first and last name, email address, or other. So this way you could download your quiz results as a CSV and then enter those into another gradebook somewhere. So really easy to do that. I'm going to leave it as anonymous because I don't want you guys to have to enter a bunch of information if you go in to take my quiz in just a second. And I can actually just copy the link right here, and I'll even pop it in the chat window, right? And you guys can navigate to my quiz and view my quiz. It's 8 minutes and 50 seconds. So please don't feel obligated to take it right now because I would rather you pay attention to what we're doing. But it is there so that you can see how easy it is for me to just copy that link and share after I create my quiz. And then my favorite little feature on the assignments and settings, I mean, everything is my favorite because I think it's so great just to have quizzing, but is this QR code option. So to me, I'm thinking, oh, if I'm running out of time in class, because once again, teacher mindset, I could have my students like take out their cell phone really quick and just scan this QR code and take the quiz as they walk away. So really easy to kind of get that into people's hands. And I know Kelly has some even better ideas for the QR code.
Well, so that's a really good idea in the classroom. When we're looking at the QR codes on kind of the business and the marketing and the brand side of things, the really nice thing about this is you could actually download that QR code right from ScreenPal. And if you wanted to include that in print materials, promotional materials, things like that, it's another way to engage your audience. We actually do this quite a bit when we're going to trade shows. We'll download the QR code, we'll include it on the back of a business card or on the back of kind of a takeaway or on a poster. So when people are walking by our booth, they can really easily just scan it. They take it with them, especially, you know, people are really busy in those kind of environments. So this is a nice way to engage with people and kind of continue that contact.
Yeah. And then here we've got some other assignment settings on the right-hand side of the page, which includes to turn on and off the prevent skipping. So it's automatically turned on. You can decide to turn it off. So if you're thinking, I'm never going to remember to turn that on every time, it's okay. It's already turned on. I jokingly say, why would you ever turn it off? But there's that teacher mentality again, right? There's definitely reasons you should turn it off. But here I've got hide question markers on the timeline. So those little blue teardrops that we saw, it's already removed. So it's already hidden, but you can make sure that your audience sees those blue teardrops by turning off this toggle. And then here you can hide your call to action and annotation buttons. So those are the buttons that would relink everyone from where you are, like to another website if you wanted to. Great idea to include those at the end of your quiz, by the way, for like the next step in the lesson or the next module, right? Could be linked at the end of this one. And then you can hide the score or results. So these three are turned on automatically. I didn't change anything when we got to this page. And then you can choose to not include the short answers in the scoring, or you can choose to schedule your quiz. Okay, so lots of options. And then just so you can see, if I turn on schedule quiz, I can schedule my start date and my due date there, just so you kind of see a little bit more of what pops up when you turn that on. So lots of options for how you're sharing your quiz. And again, here in the corner, we've got view QR code and copy link. So no matter which tab I'm on, I'll have access to the link and the QR code. So you can't get lost for where that QR code and where that link is as you are going through your quiz.
Yeah, and just to point out too, there's a little button there to preview. So as you toggle those options, you can always preview it and refresh the quiz to see how those options end up kind of changing the experience of the quiz. You can do that at any time. And those results, if you actually take the quiz in the preview mode, that doesn't come across in your results. That's just kind of playing around and testing it.
Oh, I didn't know that, Kelly. I love that. That's awesome. Okay, perfect. We're all learning together.
And now we're going to go on to results summary. So the summary gives you really great insights into how your audience consumes the content. It allows you to really quickly analyze and understand the overall performance and any trends among the respondents. You can also facilitate some further analysis of that data by exporting the data. Sarah mentioned this before. You can actually export to a spreadsheet or a PDF. So you can look and track progress over time, and certainly identify any areas for improvement with your content.
And then the aggregated data includes the number of completed quizzes, the total number of visits, the number of partial responses, high score, low score, and median score, if scored, and the heat map summary. So we'll look at actually a different quiz that I have a lot of results on, since I just created this one for us during the session. There won't be much on my results summary tab unless you guys didn't follow directions and you watched my 8-minute and 50-second video, LOL. So I will pop over to a different quiz really quickly so that we can see more of our results. So remember, the results summary tab is the aggregated data of everyone who took the quiz, and then we'll talk in a second about individual results, which is where you could go to see each individual quiz taker's results. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. So results summary here. Once again, this one's blank because we just created this quiz together. So I'm actually going to go back to my quizzes tab. And this would be what you would do were you to maybe go to get the CSV after you've assigned the quiz, right? You would just go back to the quizzes tab. And I will actually go down a little bit into our 1.1 here. Did this to me earlier. It's thinking. There we go. My computer's like, wait, you just made a quiz. What are you doing? But wait, there's more. Who is that? The OxyClean guy? Anyway, so you've got 55 completed quizzes, which I just talked about. So let's point some of these out really quick. So we've got 55 completed. So that's the number completed. I can also see the highest score. I can see the lowest score and the median score. So remember, this is all people who have taken this quiz, all of my quiz takers, okay? I can also see the number of visits as well as the number of partial responses. And I've got this beautiful heat map summary here that gives me an average time. And then again, the individual results would be where you would go to view individual responses. This is just our aggregated data for everything. So let me scroll down a little bit because I want to give you guys an idea of what those question types will look like as you collect some of that data. So here, this first one, I have a poll question. This is one of my ones that I put emojis on, okay? And then under my bar graph for my poll, I can see the response percentages. So I can see kind of, 58% of my quiz respondents were excited and ready to learn at the beginning of the module. So this is one of those questions that I put at the beginning. You could use this for like pre-knowledge, like, do you know X, Y, and Z, and kind of see what people already know about a topic. Or you can just, like I said, do a little social emotional check-in at the beginning, which is kind of similar to what I did, except it was, are you excited to learn? And then here, this is one of our multiple choice questions. So just like I did during our demo, I've got select all that apply here in my question. And then I've got the 3 options and I can see the response percentages of people who answered that question. So 43% thought they could only record the screen and webcam together and didn't realize that you could actually record them separately. So that's kind of good data for me to know and maybe go back and clarify that a little bit more during my training. And then there's another poll there, so we'll skip on through. And here's a true false question. So also a pie chart there for true false. And there's another true false. Another true false. And there's another poll. I like using polls in my training because I'm not assigning people a grade for doing this. So I love doing a poll because it kind of gives people a choice and keeps them engaged rather than making somebody think that because they, liked blur feature the most, that it was wrong, right? I don't want them to feel like there's a right or a wrong answer when they're answering this. So I love using those poll questions in this capacity. And then if I scroll down to the bottom, I've got one of the rating questions here. So was this training well organized and easy to follow? It is important to note that I have this quiz set up to be anonymous. And I have this question actually set up that you're allowed to skip it. So some people might have some additional comments for this question, some people might not, and some people might have skipped this question. So if I pull up one of those in the individual results, it might be a person that skipped it. But of the people that responded to this question, which is still, around 50 odd people, I've got 4.6 stars as my average rating. So it gives you that average rating there for the satisfaction with the quiz. And then another poll that I like to use, would you recommend this training to a colleague? So if you are in a training capacity, if people would tell other people to take it, that probably speaks relatively highly of your training, that it was useful. So a great question idea for you to ask. And then of course, questions about improvement. So I love using those poll and rating questions to see if there's anything that I can improve upon my practice when I create these trainings, when I develop these modules. And then we also have here the export option, which is kind of what Kelly and I were talking about. You can export the PDF, the XLS, and the CSV. So this would export these aggregated results. And then we could look at these results over time to maybe improve the product, improve the training, improve the method of delivery, etc. So really great way for you to turn around and use that feedback to your advantage. So all of this aggregated data, once again, is under our results summary page. So now let's pop over to look a little bit more at our individual results.
Right. So once a viewer submits their answers to a quiz, you can access their individual results in that tab. This allows you to review their performance, provides you with detailed insights into their understanding and their progress. And our platform is actually really unique in that if we have an email address in our system, like if they're logged in or they're part of your team plan, you can provide really personalized, individualized feedback that gets sent to them through ScreenPal. This means that you can really tailor and deliver feedback that's specific to each quiz taker's performance, helping them better understand their strengths and areas that might need a little bit of extra attention. And by providing these extra personalized insights, you can actively engage with learners, you can encourage growth, and again, you can really foster more of that two-way communication and active learning.
I loved when we were talking earlier, Kelly, I was like, two-way communication, like my little teacher heart, like skipped a beat because it's so hard to provide effective feedback. So I love the idea, you've got the immediate feedback option on the question, and you also have this personalized, tailored feedback that you can do in the individual results. Some of the other features on that tab are you can see when the video was last watched, if partial or full answers were submitted. You can see the results and analytics, like the grade, if you will, for each individual respondent. And you can input a score for the short answer questions, and you can also delete responses. So over on my individual results tab, so for the same quiz, this one I have is anonymous. So important to note, if you do leave it as anonymous, if you do that feedback, it will not send it to the respondent because they didn't put in an email to complete the quiz, right? So it won't know who to send the feedback to. So if you want to really take advantage of that personalized feedback, then make sure that you are utilizing those assignment and settings options. But what I can see here, so we'll just take this first result. I can see that they last watched it on the 12th at 8:50 p.m. They completed or submitted the assignment. Their score was 75 out of 100. And then I can click here for the quiz answer details. So this will show me all of the answers of this individual respondent. And so I can see their answers to each of these questions. And then if they gave me an answer to this, every question I can actually add feedback to. So if maybe I wanted to say, I'm really excited that you're excited about text annotations too, I could put kind of those little positive feedback moments in there. Or if, you're kind of like building that rapport with your community, you could say, oh my goodness, that's my favorite feature as well, right? And kind of build that rapport and create those shared experiences in there. And then, of course, this would be also where you would go to provide short answer question feedback. So if you did have people answer a short answer question, you could add the feedback there for the short answer questions. I really love, as a prior K-12 educator, this time spent piece here, because to me, let's say I have a student that's like just really not doing well with video lessons, right? Like they just keep answering wrong, answering wrong, answering wrong. What's going on? I'm trying to help you. You're really not doing well on these video quizzes. But that is a very important skill, is for students to be able to consume and comprehend video. It's everywhere, as we all know. So I could actually come in and take a deeper dive into these individual results. And if I see maybe that they're spending, 10 seconds on each question, that maybe they're not really analyzing the question and the answer choices. And I could kind of have a one-on-one sit-down meeting with that student and figure out how we can answer these questions a little bit better, and maybe take some more time reading the questions and putting in the answer. Because there's not a time limit on answering the question, right? Like it's going to pause on the question until you answer it. So why not take your time as you're watching the video? So you can kind of personalize your instruction outside of even the video based on the results that you can gather in this individual results tab. And then here I can click on the three dots and delete that individual response if I need or want to as well. And then I think we have under the more, you can also delete all the responses for the quiz, as well as duplicate the quiz or delete the quiz altogether. So you have lots of options. And then once again, here's our export options here on the screen. So I could export as PDF, XLS, or CSV, and this will export this individual result file, whereas the result summary, when you export that, would export the aggregated results page that we saw on that tab. So it'll export two different things when you click on export there. Now, if you're like me and you have 172 participants, and let's say everybody has names on there, you might really quickly want to look for one name. So in that case, you've got search users here. If you had them put in a name, put in an email address, you could really quickly go through and do that too. So nice little feature there to make your life a little bit easier. Oh, and I think we wanted to point out again, just to remind you, the QR code and the copy link did not go away as I've navigated through these 4 different tabs. They have always been here, so you can always view the QR code and copy the link really quickly in the top right corner of that quiz screen. Awesome. All right, perfect. Oh, and then I saw somebody talking about Power School in there. So one of the things that we just released is our LTI 1.3, which is very exciting, which means that we are working towards grade sync. So if you're using one of those LMSs that is using LTI 1.3, I thought maybe I said that wrong for a second, but I've typed it so much I couldn't have said it wrong, right? It's LTI 1.3. If you're using one of those learning management systems that uses an LTI, then hopefully in the near future, in 2024, we will have a grade sync option for you. So it'll make it even easier and even more seamless than it already is, because all of the systems will talk to each other. So very much looking forward to that. And if you have any additional questions, we will stick around for a minute. I'm also going to pop really quick in our chat window there a link for you to fill out a survey for us. And that way you can also grab your certificate of completion, because we made a special badge for our webinar today. You guys will be the very first recipients of our level 2 ScreenPal Quizzing badge, which I'm very excited about.